Hello there, everyone. So we're going to go over some in-game options and keybinds that are particularly useful for World vs. World today. So the way you access these is you go into your options, and we're going to look at the key bindings first. And why these are important is if you're not using these keybinds, like if you're skill clicking, if you're going like clicking on something and then using it, you're looking at your bar instead of watching where the tag is and watching where the enemy group is. You're also taking an extra second or two every single time that you want to cast a skill, which is not ideal, right? Like, if you have somebody who can hit five skills every 5 seconds versus somebody who can hit every five skills every 10 seconds, you're half as effective right off the bat from everybody else just based on that alone. So some suggestions I have, you should definitely unbind, turn left and turn right. These are garbage. They do nothing for you. You want to use your strafe left and strafe right, and that allows you to kind of skirt back and forth, which is much easier. You absolutely want to keybind your dodge. I know some people have a lot of luck with like double pressing their keys to dodge. I find that just kind of wastes your dodges sometimes, and since it lasts for 3/4 of a second every time you dodge, that's your like biggest defensive cooldown for a lot of builds, almost all builds really. Let's see here. So something I would suggest is if you set your keyboard up so that you're using like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or like maybe some shift or control or alt modifiers or whatnot. Those will give you like your offensive skills, and then your defensive skills you can kind of keybind to your mouse, like a stun break or your dodge. So that way you can kind of like think defensively on one side, more offensively on the other side. The way that you do this is you double click on any of these boxes, and then you can assign it for whatever. So maybe G, right, or Shift plus G, or Alt plus G, or Control plus G, whatever's most comfortable for you. You want to make sure that all your keybinds are going to fit your hands. So if you have like short fingers, you probably don't want to keybind anything to F5 because you're going to have a hell of a time hitting it. You might instead want to like do Shift plus E, or just E, or I don't know, however you want to set it up so that it makes sense for you to use it. But it's very important to set that up. Let's see. So it might take a week or two for like the muscle memory to build up for these kind of changes, because it's a big shift going from like clicking your skills to using them, doing whatever, to just kind of casting them instead from your keyboard. And probably the quickest way to get yourself acclimated or to get used to using your skills like that is to go hop in unranked PvP. The constant use in there allows you to like pick up the muscle memory fastest, and it allows you to like check and see, test something out. Like maybe you're going to try one keybind, right? You go fight a match and that keybind didn't work well for you. Maybe it's your stun break, right? So you're like fighting somebody, you need a stun break, and you realize that you're trying to press on your healing key and your stun break key, and they're in totally different spots, and like now you can't hit both of them at the same time, so you break a stun, but you get caught in the immobilize and you lose. So maybe good to just like think about it in that way. But keybinds, super fucking important. That's gonna be like the quickest way to get better at this game besides downloading Arc DPS. Yeah. So then we have some general in-game options here as well. Start at the top here. AoE loot, AoE pickup, auto loot, those are all good to just have on in general. Show skill recharge is particularly useful. That allows you to see how long it is before your skill comes off of cooldown. So, in 15 seconds, 13, 20, 12, whatever, you're going to have that skill back up. So that allows you to kind of plan for what you're doing. And that's good to have. Show simple condition floaters. So what this does is like it puts a separate little floater up for every single condition you have on an opponent. I would actually say turn that off. It can be very misleading. Let's say that you apply like bleeding to everybody, right? So you see on your screen, you'll have like 50 people and a whole bunch of little damage numbers floating up, right? And you might think to yourself like, oh, I'm killing it right now. Like lots of damage going out and I'm doing really well. And then you look at Arc DPS and you're in like 28th place. Like you've barely beaten the support scrappers for damage. it's a little misleading because you think you're doing well, but in reality you aren't doing shit. I would definitely turn that off. Thick party health bars is really useful for healers. Thick squad health bars, I feel like that gets a little bit overwhelming. You get 50 huge health bars around you, and that's kind of trash. Let's see, always show party and squad health bars. Those are kind of up to you as well. You definitely want to have always show party health bars on. If you're a healer, if you're a DPS, these might just be a lot of visual noise, and you can turn them off without any difficulty. That way you're not having so much kind of clutter on your end of the screen, and it's easier to see what's going on the other side. Okay, so let's keep scrolling down here. Ground targeting, fast with range indicator. This is the move right here. So the way this works is you press down whatever the key is that you're going to use, and it'll bring up a little AoE indicator, right? And then when you release that key, it'll cast the skill. So how this is particularly beneficial is it allows you to see where your skill is going to hit and where to place the skill, but you get to do everything very, very quickly, as opposed to hitting it twice or like show range indicator on the first press, right? So the first press brings it up, and then the second press, you're pushing 2 times the keys to get the exact same effect. And instance kind of okay as well. The problem is you can't see where that skill is going to be. Like you can't see the indicator around it. So I don't know. I would definitely say fast with range indicator is the way to go for world versus world. You want to have area of effect rings enabled. That allows you to see like where an enemy damage is going to hit, so you know where to walk around. It allows you to see anything on the ground instead of just kind of like a clutter of visual effects. Let's see, melee attack assist, you want to make sure you have this off. So if you have this on and you try to run through an enemy player, you'll get to here and you'll just stop. Like you won't be able to walk through them. And this is kind of an issue in world versus world fights because like if you have 50 people up here and you're trying to walk through them in melee to get to the other side, if you have this box checked, then you just get fucked. Like you get stuck behind everybody else in your group and they run you over. It's not ideal. So make sure you have melee attack assist off. Lock ground target at maximum skill range, very useful to have checked. What that does is now, no matter where your mouse is, you'll always have the maximum range out. This is kind of nice because you get to see, like, first of all, on staff, this is 1200 range, right? So on a Guardian, if you have this indicator up, you know that if you're this close to the enemy, you're at 1200 range. They can hit you with their 1200 range skills, just like you can hit them. So this is kind of an idea of like you should have stability up by the time that you're this close to the enemy group. Otherwise, you're going to be running into like staff lines and stuff, right? So that's at maximum range, so you know that that's how far away you can cast that. Speaking of it, whenever you have like the key held down for your fast with range indicator, you can cancel that cast by right mouse clicking, and it won't go on cooldown. You don't get any of the like even the small cooldown effects. So let's say you have like a skill, you're going to cast it as you're moving, right? And then they move and like you don't want to use that anymore. You want to use something else. Just right click. Problem solved. Snap ground target to current target. You want to have this off. So what that'll do is like no matter where my mouse is, it'll target that particular person. If I don't have anybody targeted, it just uses the default. This kind of sucks though, because if you're like fighting a group that's moving around, and you'll always be fighting a group that's moving around in world versus world, you'll land this here, but by the time that your skill finishes casting, like they're over here now. So your skill isn't going to do anything. The one time where this is kind of useful is if you're on a ranger with longbow 5. You can target like a arrow cart or a ballista or something that's in a hard to reach place inside of a structure, and then use your skill, and it'll ignore your line of sight to cast the skill there anyway. It's kind of a bug, but you know, useful to know. And allow skill retargeting is kind of nice. So let's say that I have this person targeted, and I'm using a channeling skill like Axe 2 for a necromancer, right? And this person goes down. So instead of just continuing to hit this person who's down and invulnerable, you can hit tab and select your next target, and your axe will continue to cast on this person instead. So allow skill retargeting, pretty useful to have up. Okay, let's see. For competitive, you can set your team colors to everyone, enemies, or none. This tinges their character model the color of their team. So If you're blue and you have on everyone, your character will become slightly blue. If you have on enemies, your character stays the same, or all you and your friend's characters stay the same. The enemies are all now tinged whatever color is their team. Standard enemy models definitely enable. This cuts down on a lot of the visual noise, which can make it difficult to see what's going on or to like have an idea of where to move and what to do. Standard friendly models, same thing. You can put these on enable, and now everyone that you see is going to have that kind of standard model. This is kind of nice to do, especially if you're looking for like a performance gain. This is really easy to do. Cuts down on that visual noise. And world versus world simple nameplates. I would definitely recommend putting on everyone. So if you have none, it'll bring up like their name and stuff, or for some people it'll bring up like what their rank is even. That's just like, that's a lot of extra text on your screen that's not doing anything for you. Enemies only, same kind of thing, but everyone's the way to go. So what this does is gives everybody a little indicator over their head that says what team they are and then what their guild is. And that's really all you need to know about somebody in World vs. World anyway. If you're fighting a single player anyway, you can target them and it'll bring up like all of the individual stuff. But if you're fighting 50 people, you don't want to have like 50 people's names on your screen. All that does is it's going to block out where the tag is. It blocks out where like useful effects are on the ground. It just put it to everyone. It makes life way easier. Okay, and last up we have the camera. So where is it? Enable camera shake and player camera shake. I would definitely turn these off because they like make the screen shake every time that somebody lands a crit on you, and you're going to get crit all the time. Or same thing, like if you land a crit on them, the whole screen starts to rumble, which is kind of a cool effect, but when there's 50 people, it's just nonstop. It makes it much harder to like see what's going on around you and what to do. And in graphics, you want to make sure that your character model limit is at the highest. This determines how many character models you can see at any given time. If you have this on really low and you're fighting against 50 people, you'll see the 10 people who are the closest to you in front of you, and you will no longer see the other 40 people behind them, which makes it very difficult to guess, like, oh, should I move over this way, or like, should I move over this way? And you can't see those 40 people. They're all moving this way. You move this way, and suddenly they appear on your screen, as they run you over. So character model limit you want on the highest. Character model quality you can set to the lowest. This just greatly improves your frames per second in World vs. World. All right, well that's about it for options and keybinds. I hope you enjoyed.